Hello and welcome to today's video on this brand new event, the Forest Sorcery Festival, and because this is a brand new event we have plenty of things to talk about, so whether you're new to events or are just having difficulties with this one, then this will be the video for you. We will be covering what are the best items to aim to get and use in your squad, and how this event actually works and how you can earn these event items yourself. I'll also have some tips at the end and talking about who this event is actually for and whether you should be paying for a pass or invitation this time around or even when it comes around again in the future. There would also be some changes to the game to do with the Gem Bay, Cathedral, clan territories and even new sets. But we'll be looking at these things in another video, as I can already tell this one will be quite a big one. I also wanted to mention to anyone who follows the channel, I do have a new series on A Plague Tale Innocence, and it'll be great to have your support by watching the very first video, and the more you watch, the more you'll be helping me out. Even if you just leave it running in the background if it's not your sort of thing, as this will help me out massively in getting the video seen. So thank you to everyone who watches the video, and just so you don't have to leave this video, it will be an end screen to hopefully make things easy for yourself. Anyways, enough of that, let's talk about what are the best items you can get from this event. And I'll be picking my top 3 with 2 honourable mentions for specific reasons, and it's up to you to decide whether it's worth using or not. Firstly, I think there are a lot of great options, so I wouldn't be surprised if you guys thought differently to what I pick here. But I would have to say the best item here would be the Spring Spirit gear for the archer. Now, don't get me wrong, this could be debatable as archers tend to be quite weak, but if you do have an archer with the right artifact, this armor could really shine. And the main reason I think that this will be the best item from this event is because this armor will deal in pure damage over the standard physical or magical damage, with another bonus that will either hit all enemy archers or mages or tanks at the same time, depending who's up of course. And as normal, we can always expect these stats to increase when being made into an ancient set if you're at that stage of the game. The next choice in the lineup will be the Trent's friend Rune. This is in second place because of what it can do to the highest damage enemy, so every once in a while the enemy of the greatest damage will take 65,000 magic damage, and again this will most likely be higher when made into a set piece. This is especially good because this will normally affect 3 certain people the most, the Shadow Fighter, Dragonborn or Legionnaire, as they normally come with very high damage, so just bear this in mind. When this person takes damage, them and all enemies in a small radius around them are also set on fire, dealing 57,600 damage and also have their healing reduced by 65%. This will be huge in defeating these people quickly and making them less of a threat to your team. The third and last of my top 3 list will be the Winter Spirit outfit. Now, if you don't have 2 mages or more in your team, then you'll probably be better off with using the Winter Spirit Orb, as I find that this will still serve your team well. But with the Spirit outfit, I like this because of the team healing it can bring. Now there's emphasis on team because it will only affect a small radius, basically just mages unless people are running through, but the fact it can do 15% plus spell power means there will be some big gains in health. Now, I'm not expecting people's mages to be as focused like my Dark Eater here, but at least this will give you more reason to actually focus on your mages and increasing their health and other stats. So that is my top 3 picks, but I also wanted to mention these 2 others because they are quite specific but still very good. But just before we do, make sure you do get subscribed if you want to see my video on the changes they've made to the game and how this will affect you in the future. Now, a great item with how it looks on face value will be the Spring Spirit Pistols. Now, this item will require one of the new sets to actually be good to make it worth using, but because we don't know how good the sets are yet, I can't add this in my top 3 and recommend to go for it. But let's just say that the sets are good, then I would have actually put this in my 3rd place position instead of the mage armor. And that's because this weapon has a 50% chance of shooting all enemies. Now that's a crazy high percentage because that's basically 1 in 2 shots will activate the ability. So again, this will highly depend on the set if it even makes this item useful, but if you're not at the set stage, then this will actually be a great item to have straight away. The other item I wanted to mention was the Forrest Totem. This totem is a great totem, it has 150,000 damage in its ability at level 30 and it can reduce the enemy's armor at the same time. But the reason why it's not in my top 3 is because I don't think it's as good as all the other team affecting items that you can get. But at the same time, this is a unique totem, and it's unlikely you'll see this totem again unless it's through the donkey or dragon. So I would still rate this highly to use instead of some of the basic totems out there, and even for myself, I only have 2 totems that I like at the minute, so this will definitely go straight in my squad if I was able to get it. Just bear in mind this totem should only be used on physical damage fighters and not mages. So that's us done with the top 3 items and some extras, but what would you say is the best item in this event in your opinion? Is it the same as me with the Spring Spirit gear for the archer, or would you have picked something else? Let me know down below, it's always great hearing your comments. Now, because this is a new event and it took me a little bit to get to grips with it, I know there'll be some new players out there absolutely confused with how this event works, so I wanted to do a more in-depth guide on what you should be doing and how this event works. So let's start off with the basics, and I'll try and keep this short. At the top you'll see one slot for your tools. Unless you have already purchased the event already, then you'll have 1 or 2 more slots available. But this is where you get to choose what tool or tools you want to be used for battles. Now this can be changed at the beginning of fights where it can be used, so don't be so worried about coming back to the screen to having to change them. Now not all fights use these tools, but basically any fight that is against a player or boss will use one tool of each type selected at the top, and if you have 3 of the same type, then you'll be earning 3 times more seals. These seals will look like these, and all 3 tools produce 2 types of seals for winning a battle. It might sound a bit confusing, but once you start playing the game you won't even be thinking about this. Just make sure that you're moving between all 3 tools at some point throughout your day, and that way you'll be getting the most even amount of seals as possible, and you won't even have to worry about which ones you should be using. Once you've collected enough seals, you'll be able to create a spell. Now you can just see this as opening a chest if it's easier for you, but each spell you make will give you different rewards and items, so do pay attention to which ones you want and focus on these ones first if you can. Now this was meant to be in the tip section, but I will say to avoid the green uncommon spells, unless you need apples desperately and have no other way of gaining apples. The normal rewards they give are pretty basic, and the special items aren't really that special, but they are the only spells to give you apples, so just use them when you really need to. If you're running out of tools, then what you need to do is actually do your quests. Each quest will give you 30 tools of a single type, so just make sure you complete these when and where you can. Let's move on to the next part that people are probably interested in, and that would be what are the best ways of earning these seals or using the tools. As normal, the djembe will be the best place in earning the most seals, and again you can select which tool you would like to use at the beginning in the top left. But you'll also be able to do this during your rounds in the top right of your squad just here, and the good thing about the djembe and what Huskarls will have sorted already is if you are out of tools during your rounds, it will actually ask you if you'd like to pick a new one before continuing so you don't miss out. And as long as you can defeat more than 10 people at a time, you should be looking to get some great rewards from this. And don't worry, I do have a guide on the djembe if you are struggling to finish your djembes, and there will be a link here for that video, as I'm sure I'll be able to help you out. The next best thing you'll want to focus on will be your clan wars. Now this is much higher on the list than normal, and that's because the amount of seals you get for winning a waypoint is amazing. So what I would recommend for the event is start grouping up with the strongest people in your clan until the event is over. And if you are in such a position, then make sure you do edit them correctly for the best chances possible. The next one now is debatable with the one after on which one is better, but for me I would have to say the lighthouse. And I would say this is still a great place to go in earning you seals, because what you can do to guarantee more wins is just do the 3 weakest fights and then refresh. And what you want to do is only fight the 3 weakest people if you're really focused on the event. This way you'll have many more wins over trying to beat all 5 players for the lighthouse bonuses. Next up will be the Cathedral. To earn seals from here you'll need to defeat either the minions or guardian bosses. You'll generally get 2 to 3 per round, and since the waypoints are shorter you can generally do this in much quicker time than before, and I'd recommend to be doing this on the normal difficulty for the event. Now I've placed the arena after these 2 options, and that's because you can't always guarantee you'll win the fight like the lighthouse or cathedral if you follow the steps like I've mentioned before. But the arena can still be an ideal place to go if you haven't got any apples and are using tickets to do them. Just remember, if you do lose a battle, you will be using a tool just for the sake of doing the fight. Also, at this point of the video, my internet has actually gone down, so I will need to repeat some of the video to keep this going. After the arena, it will actually be the portal. Now the portal is usually a great way to earn things in events, but for whatever reason for at least people from M11, you only have 6 levels unlocked after watching the advert that you can complete straight away. Anything below level 62 won't get you any seals, and that means you will now have to focus on doing levels 85 and above that have chests on them. This is unfortunate as it has made the portal not the best place to go for the event, and I'd only recommend doing the levels 80 and below that give you seals, and ignoring anything else unless you already need to do the portal for something else. The last major thing you can do but shouldn't be doing will be the dungeon. The dungeon now has the worst seal rate in the game out of all of the options. You only get it for defeating bosses, and rather than the game using 2 to 3 tools per boss, it only uses 1, and that's literally a single PvP fight in any of the previous activities I've mentioned already. Now you could argue that there are boss dungeons, but we already have people that bail on dungeons just to find the bosses, and I think this will make it even worse and still not a good trade-off even if you find one. Now I haven't mentioned PvPs because this will depend on your trophy level and who you want to attack, but that doesn't mean it's actually bad, it's just not something you can keep on doing without wasting your time in getting your trophies down to do it again. There are 2 more ways, but luckily they are very simple and these should be done every single day, and that's why I'm mentioning them together. So the first thing will be sending and accepting resources. This is a very quick and easy thing to do, and if you have premium then you'll be able to send gifts 20 times. Just remember, even if you are full on resources at the end of the day, still accept the resources from friends, as this will still give you seals as well. The last activity will be your invasions. This is something that doesn't take long to do and still gives you all the other bonuses you have come to expect. So just make sure you do them daily, even if you have to do them one at a time. We're almost at the end of the video with some quick fire tips and my conclusion at the end, but please give this video a like if you have enjoyed it, and make sure you let your friends know about this video if they're in need of some help. So let's do some quick fire tips now, and unfortunately I won't be able to show you what I'm talking about, so see how you get on, and you can always leave a message if you're unsure about anything for me to get back to you. The first tip, only create spells for the items that you actually want until you do get the items that you want. If you have the pass, then there'll be more items and options for you to choose between, so just have a look before you actually start opening up your spells. The next tip, I don't see the need for lower options, the uncommons, except for apples if you desperately need them and have no other way of actually getting apples through adverts or chests. Similar to the previous tip, what you should also do is ignore the middle rare option if you can, unless you actually do want the bridge, as this will be more of a personal choice but it won't actually be useful for yourself. And from there I'll just wait until the end of the event to open them if you have any spare left at that time. Another thing, make sure to use different tools at the same time if you do have that option. This way you can unlock a more varied amount of spells instead of just 1 or 2. For any fight that you can use a tool on, if you do lose that fight you will be losing that tool, and even if you do watch an advert to get, let's say, your spells or apples back, unfortunately it doesn't give you the tool back for whatever reason, so just bear that in mind. And lastly, always aim to do your quests to keep stocked up on your tools. It would be horrible to be doing a run through the djembe or an arena and then find out you actually have nothing left, so just make sure that you actually aim to do these quests first before doing your standard grinding. Now away from the tips, I will say this event is great because it doesn't restrict you to only playing certain things like the rune events do. With rune events, once you have all of your runes for the confrontation tree, the only way you can earn the rest is actually by playing other parts of the game that you might not want to do, like the Hustle Islands, djembes or dungeons. But with this event, if all you wanted to do is just grind the arenas or djembes, then you can still earn yourself some really great rewards. And not to mention, I've been doing this for free and still been getting some good rewards. I have heard though that some players aren't actually getting great rewards, so I am wondering if it's only the Throne Room 11 players that are getting the good items. So please leave a comment if you are a fan of the event and have been getting some good rewards at Throne Room 10 or below. And make sure to add what Throne Room level you are as well, just to give a bit more context of what rewards you're getting at what level. Anyways, I really hope you all have enjoyed this video. Just remember, I have my changes video coming out next week, and again, to help support my channel, please consider watching my first A Plague Tale series, and ideally the whole way through, even if it's just in the background. This would be a huge help to me, so thank you to any of you that watch it, and thank you to anyone that has made it this far in the video.